Sports Day is brought to you by Barton Community College. Explore your future and get started now. Visit gobarton.com.
Okay, Sports Day in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, we're going to miss them, man. They were such a fun group to be around and go to work with. But, you know, it's like we told them, that's life, and they're on to bigger and better things. And you just can't thank them enough, you know, from the bottom of my heart, everything they've poured into this thing. And so love them, and definitely going to miss them, but, you know, excited to see what their individual futures hold.
When Michaela's playing like that, I can't take her out. You know, I can't. You know,
I agree.
When in a game like that, you know, even though she's a little tired, you know, we've got to use our timeouts if we need to, and you know, you got the media timeouts, but she was just a warrior down there.
You got to clean up a couple things. You know, he needs to start using his left hand and make some of those ones when he's right by the rim. But you know, he's been playing great. He's been a really big help for us this year.
It's my job, and you know, like I say, I'm going to own my role, and you know, if that's coming in relief when I need to, you know, I've done it a couple times now. I'm getting kind of used to it, and you know, I credit to all the guys around me for rallying around me and staying up on me, and you know, just telling me how much they believe in me and everything. And you know, when you got that, and you got dudes making plays like they were tonight, it makes my job easy.
Putting my hand in the right position, Kurt giving me an attempt to go up and make a play for the team. But I guess all of those strengthening the hand workouts kind of worked out.
Mahomes, Pacheco. They fake a jet action. Mahomes wants to throw the ball, slings it wide open right side. Kadarius Toney walks the tightrope and is hopping into the end zone. Touchdown!
Lead pass now from Morrissey. Hops towards center ice, crossed over the line, moves right in for Shipley. A shot, he scores! Mark Shipley wins it in overtime tonight. His team leading 10th, second of the night, and Winnipeg completes the comeback.
Okay, we're going to have tradition where we end the Spawns of the last 24 hours with a hockey highlight. How about that?
Did you cut off touchdown Kansas City?
Yes, I did on purpose.
It's like an earworm, like it's in my head all day now.
I have my feelings about Mitch Holthus, and I cut. Thank you for catching that, though. Yes, I did cut that off on purpose. Okay, good afternoon and welcome to a snowy Monday. This is Sports Day. I'm Mike Hesher. The other voice you heard was Mike Corson. As you know, I'm a little worried, Mike. I come in and I see this sheet this morning that says, you know, it's usually AM Great Ben with Steve Webster. And it said AM Great Ben Show with Mike Hesher. I'm thinking, is Webby trying to tell me something?
Well, you got it.
Well,
we'll see if he's here tomorrow. Huh?
I'd say, well, he's supposed to be back tomorrow, but then I got news that he's off a little bit more before Thanksgiving, so we will see what happens there. We love you, Steve, but it's not the same without you, buddy. I'll put it that way. So, sounds of the past 24 hours. The first one was Zach Baird. This is Sports Day, by the way, as I think I mentioned. Sports Day is brought to you by Barton Community College and Barton Community College Athletics. Get ahead with online or dual credit classes at Barton Community College. Earn a certificate or associate degree while in high school. Learn more at gobarton.com. So that was Zach Baird. He was talking about his senior class. I believe he said there was 9 of them as they will exit, and he basically says, you know, we talked to them saying, hey, we're going to miss you, but you guys got so much more exciting things going on, and we're hoping to see you successful in the future.
Yeah, we knew that game against Southeast was going to be tough. I like the score, really, when you see what Southeast has kind of done this year. And I think, like Connor Nichols said last Friday, a lot of underclassmen on that team, so maybe they overperform given all things considered, and big expectations for next year.
Then we heard from Alan Clark. He's the head coach of the Barton Community College Women's Ball Club. He was talking about Michaela Hall. On Saturday night, Michaela had a career-high 25 points and 8 rebounds as Barton was able to win the 2 games over the weekend in the Classic at the college, and they are 6-0, headed to Garden City on Wednesday for their conference opener. She was a beast down low. It was amazing.
I didn't get to catch it. I was at the game Friday in Hayes, so I was listening to Randy on the radio before the game.
And I will tell you what, before I forget, I was there Friday night as well trying to figure out some names and stuff like that. I saw one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So it was Veterans Day, so they had all the veterans stand up, which, was common. Then, and I don't know if this was planned or not, both teams, players from both the men's squads, went into the crowd and were shaking the hands of the veterans.
I haven't seen that before.
I've never heard that before, seen that before. I don't know if that was spontaneous, if somebody had decided to do that beforehand, but it touched my heart, and I'm not a very emotional person, so...
It's frosty in here.
It is frosty. It's not frosty outside. Then we heard from Brett Frentz. He is the assistant coach at Barton Community College for the men's ball club. He was talking about Joe Locondro. Get this stat line. You'll understand this stat line. He had 18 points, 12 rebounds. No, he had 22 points, 13 rebounds in 18 minutes. He was on the floor for 18 minutes and had a double-double in 18 minutes. It was impressive. And he's a big boy, and I mentioned it on the broadcast. He uses his girth very well.
So how come the only 18 minutes?
That I don't know. Good question. Don't ask me simple questions, Mike. I'm not ready for him today, okay?
I didn't know if he was in foul trouble.
No, he wasn't in foul trouble. He just didn't. Well, Friday night, did you listen to Friday night? They were up 42-7. Over Wilbur Wright College out of Chicago, and there were rumors that Wilbur Wright showed up in their vans 2 or 3 hours before game time coming from Chicago. That had to be tough. So it wasn't much of a game, honestly.
So maybe probably the score was
it was misleading.
Limiting factor.
Now I will tell you, Wilbur Wright gave Hutchinson on Saturday night. They gave them all they wanted.
Well, they got their rest.
Well, exactly. They got their feet underneath them after riding in a van all day. Gee, many Christmas. Then we heard from Will Howard. And we'll have an interesting discussion on this one as well, as Will Howard came on in relief of Adrian Martinez, who got injured with a lower body injury early first quarter. And Will Howard, once again, looks very impressive.
I was going to watch Texas TCU, and I did for the most part. But obviously the same game time, so I was watching Adrian. I'm like, well, whatever. Baylor was picked to win it by 2.5, and then Will comes in, and guess what? They floored him. So it's just frustrating. Why did they not go all in a week earlier? I think they could have beat Texas. But I don't know that I was a Will Howard fan coming into the season, but the kid's proven he's capable of putting up points. He had 3 touchdown passes real quick.
I think you're right with a lot of people. They did not, because he had not performed very well in his duties last year. But, boy, he has been impressive thus far this year. There's no question about that.
And speaking of the TCU, I didn't realize that, they fired Gary Patterson. They got the statue out front. So when the new coaching staff came in, they took out Duggan, and he had to earn his spot back basically after the starter got injured. And look what he's doing. So it's like, these guys get paid an awful lot of money. Who's evaluating talent?
Yeah, they're also young men, and we know how young men can be up and down, right?
Maybe, but they haven't been up and down. They've been sensational, those two.
Will Howard has been, no question. Let's see. Then we heard from Justin Jefferson. I don't know if you watched the Vikings-Bills game yesterday. Justin Jefferson talking about the one-handed grab and that he made as the Vikings were able to come from behind and beat the Bills.
Obviously, some interest for Chiefs fans there as we're hoping for some home field. I love it when they get home field throughout the playoffs and they light up Kansas City red. It's always fun. So, yeah, if Minnesota gets down to the 3-yard line, can't punch it in overtime. And I thought, you're going to put the ball back in Josh Allen's hands. And then he throws a pick in the other end zone.
Well, he fumbled. Did you see right at the end of the regulation? The game was pretty much over because Minnesota was unable to score from like a 4th and 1. And Buffalo stopped them. On the next play, Buffalo, from basically their own end zone, they had a bad center to quarterback exchange. Just Josh Allen fumbled. Minnesota recovered in the end zone for a touchdown. And then Buffalo was able to come back and get a field goal to send it to overtime.
So when we do have home playoff advantage, would it send our thank you cards to Minnesota?
Well, like they did to, was it Miami a couple years ago when they beat the Patriots? And let's see, then we heard from the Chiefs Radio Network. Mitch Holthus with a call as the young man from New Jersey. It made quite a impression yesterday, and of course now the name escapes me. They just picked him up a couple of weeks ago, but he had a very good game, and he was talking about, and that was the highlight, as the Chiefs were able to score the touchdown with that young Tony. Kadarius Toney. It just came to me, I think is who it is.
And the big conversation this morning was the hit on Juju.
Right.
head-to-head, and I think it was the Alabama-Ole Miss game, which Ole Miss best uniforms in the country. But the kid got hit in the head. I thought maybe he passed out, fumbles it. It was a big play in the game. No one says a word about some of these head-to-head hits, or they didn't say, hey, it looked like he wasn't quite all there when he fell down and dropped the ball. Same thing with the Chiefs. I don't think he was penalized on the play.
He wasn't penalized on the play. And, but Juju did go to concussion protocol this morning or last night, so they will be out, and that makes the acquisition of Kadarius Toney even that much better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I had on the Chiefs, but it was the Jaguars, and didn't expect much of a game, so it didn't hurt to have him set out that one, but
no,
they're not all that easy.
Well, they play the Los Angeles Chargers this coming week, which has been moved to Sunday night. If you all did not know, they flexed that game into a NBC game at 7:15, pregame at 6 o'clock. I sound like I'm working for NBC, doesn't it? Yeah. And then we ended it with our now have to do a hockey highlight to end the sounds of the past 24 hours. That was Mark Sheffley from the Winnipeg Jets scoring, and Winnipeg defeated. They won by a score of 3-2.
Yeah, but I still haven't heard any Connor McDavid highlights. The Oilers.
Okay.
Well, so watching the playoffs got all ramped up in it, and I'd been out of the loop, so I didn't know who the best guys were. Sid the Kid Crosby up in Pittsburgh.
Right.
This McDavid dude, there are guys in sports who are just electric to watch, even if you're not a fan. Ronaldo in soccer. This guy is one of those guys. If you've never seen him play, make that your first hockey game. You'll be a fan.
Okay. And you have the reports from the Barton Community College women playing at the national tournament in Georgia today.
Yeah, so it's pool play. So
right.
We got the 1, 8, and 12. So Barton played the number 12 seed Motlow State from Lynchburg, Tennessee, home of Jack Daniels.
Jack Daniels, okay, thank you.
So they beat them 3-0. So tomorrow
Really?
they will play the number 1 team, Tyler, Texas. They're undefeated, winner of 3 of the last 5 titles.
Wow. So
tall task there, but boy, if you get there, you've knocked out the 1 seed and you advance. So,
and we're hoping things got a little busy today trying to get a hold of the Barton Community College SIDs who are down there, Todd Moore and Brandon Smith, I believe is his name. I found out Brandon Smith, so I do the ball games for Barton on Saturday night. Brandon Smith lives like 2 houses from me. It was like...
I thought he's lived at the college all this time. Well, every time I'm at the college, Brandon's out there.
He's there all the time.
He's the stat guy.
And yeah, he is the stat guy, and his comment to me was they were flying out, I think, fairly early yesterday morning. So they do the tournament over the weekend, and then they fly out, and they're in Georgia right now. And hopefully we'll have them on at some point before they leave Georgia, because I'd like to get environment. How does it feel down there to be at the national tournament?
Hopefully warmer. Yeah, we had them in earlier, and I went out and watched them a couple times. The Nina Norshey girl, leading scorer in the nation, goals and points, and by a hefty margin. So hopefully they can get something together and knock off the number 1.
So they were winners today, 3-0. That's the latest information. You right here on Sports Day on 1590 KBGB AM and 95.5 FM. I threw that AM there for Webby. I'm sure he's listening. Coming up on the show, I have my daughter's cousin has ties to Hoisington, and she has made the United States national bobsled team, and we're going to talk to her. We're also going to talk to Jim Mucinas from the Great Bend Tribune, and coming in from enemy territory, Dustin Armbruster will talk about Hayes High, who advanced to their first ever. It's the most wins they've ever had. They've been to basically the semifinals before, correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the semifinals, but 10-1 now, first 10-win season ever in Hayes history.
Well, congratulations out to Tony Crow.
The interesting thing is obviously you had the loaded class last year, probably the highest recruit ever. They've had some good recruits, but Kanik went to Oklahoma. He was recruited by Clemson, and he was the quarterback, but they still couldn't get 10. And Coach told me after the game this group came in, and they didn't want to be the little brother to last year's team, and now they're going to go see another good quarterback on Friday.
Yeah, Dustin has I had a nice discussion with Dustin. We'll hear that here in a few minutes. That's Sports Day. We're done for the minute. We'll be right back, and we'll talk to Macy Tarleton. As I said, she has relatives that still live in the area. She is my daughter's cousin, so we'll talk to Macy and her activities as a member of the U.S. national bobsled team, and she grew up in Georgia. So obviously one of the first questions is, how does a Georgia girl get to be on the bobsled team? You'll find out. You're listening to Sports Day on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM.
When you need to get rid of the pain, you want the best. You need to see Dr. Dan Quillen at Catalyst Therapy and Sports Rehab. Dr. Dan is Barton County's only board-certified clinical specialist in orthopedic physical therapy. No matter your age, when it hurts, he will help. Call Dan at 620-282-4825. That's 282-4825. Excellence-driven, unrivaled results. Catalyst Therapy and Sports Rehab. Inside the Fieldhouse at 9th and Madison in Great Bend.
Farmers depend on their equipment, and equipment depends on its fuel. Cenex Premium Diesel works as hard as you do and comes with a more complete additive package for a more complete burn. Cenex Ruby Fieldmaster even cleans up your injectors and prevents injector fouling, so your equipment can keep firing on all cylinders to make every day a field day. Cenex Premium Diesel. Diesel that doesn't mess around.
Contact American Plains Co-op in Great Bend, your certified Cenex distributor today.
When it's time to replace your old windows and doors, call your local Pella certified contractor, Empire Improvements. With a full line of Pella windows and door options, including affordable vinyl, durable fiberglass, and luxurious wood, Empire Improvements has an option for any taste or budget. No matter what Pella window or door you choose, you'll know it was installed right by a Pella trained and certified contractor. For the best warranty in the business, call Empire Improvements in Great Bend today at 620-603-0872.
November is our Wellness Plan Awareness Month. We really like to get animals in there and do a complete evaluation. It can include everything: what kind of food an animal should be on, are there any foods out there that can help improve their lifespan, doing blood work, little things like getting minimum values for liver, kidneys, and other values can help us make better decisions later on. We can diagnose sooner, we can make changes sooner, which at the end of the day gives more life to your animal.
Large or small, they take care of them all at Animal Medical Center, just south of 10th and McKinley in Great Bend.
It's Sports Day on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM. Presented by Barton Community College and the Cougar Athletic Department.
And welcome back to Sports Day. I'm Mike Hesher. As we get set for this Monday afternoon show, we have a special, very special guest this afternoon. We're talking to Macy Tarleton and how this all got started. Macy and my daughter are former cousins, I guess they're not former cousins, they're cousins. But Macy, and I can't even really explain to people what you are qualified for, but tell me what you have qualified, because it does involve the Olympics.
Yeah, sure. So I have been recently named to the national team for Team USA, and I'm competing in the sport of bobsled.
And as we talked a little bit about it off air, you are originally from Hoisington. You've been in Georgia for several years. How in the world did you get interested in bobsled?
Sure. So my parents are from Hoisington. I was born and raised in Georgia. And
were you born in Georgia? I thought you were born in Hoisington.
Yeah, no, actually, Atlanta, Georgia is
my bad. All right, sorry about
birth certificate stamp. It's okay. No problem. Still lots of family in Hoisington. But, yeah, how I got involved with bobsled, actually the coaches kind of reached out a couple of years ago and had their interest out for a new brakewoman. And so I've been competing as an Olympic weightlifter for the USA and was able to do fairly good in the sport of Olympic weightlifting. And my goal has been progressed and to be as competitive as I could, whether that was a world stage or an Olympic stage. It's just been in my blood to push the athletic barrier as far as I can. And so was under a really high-level coach out in Arizona and moved all over and trained very hard for Olympic trials and getting set for potentially a spot for Olympic weightlifting. And about 2 years ago, we got an email from a bobsled coach, and I was kind of interested in it because I had heard some other athletes that were my friends that had tried out for it, and was like, this is interesting. Well, how cool would it be to do both, right, and maybe try to go for a summer sport and a winter sport, Olympic sport. But then the more I thought about it, it just seemed like it was going to be a big distraction. This was a few years ago, and I was really at a good peak in my weightlifting career, so I wasn't willing to get leave and give up everything that I just worked so hard for in weightlifting to step into just this new arena with bobsled, and it's cold. I don't know if I'm going to like it. So I shelved the idea. Fast forward to December 2021, and I kind of revisited that idea and reached out to the director of performance for bobsled and said, hey, here's the email you sent me like a few years ago. I don't know if you're still in need of people or if I would be eligible, but I'd love to have a conversation with you about that. And he replied and said, yep, we've got to put you through some testing online to see if you're still strong and fast. And we want to see what you're athletically capable of. And there's kind of standards that you have to meet, kind of like a football combine test, right, where you go in and do a 30 or a 40 and a shot toss. So I did that online and filmed it and submitted it, and then was requested to come out to an Olympic training center in Lake Placid, New York for a week-long kind of crash course on bobsled and to try it. And they're very transparent. They said, look, if you don't like it, that's fine. We're going to just teach you the basics, and then we can just have an organic conversation if we want to move forward. And we're going to be honest and real with you if we don't think you're going to be a good fit. I was like, that's perfect. So that was, just a few months ago, honestly. It was,
I'm sure things are moving pretty fast for you, Macy, so we're not going to hold you for not remembering actual dates. Go ahead.
Yeah, so August I went out and I tried this rookie camp, and it was brutal. It was bobsledding every day where you're going down this, track. So we're not actually in a mile-long icy track yet in August. It's still, a bit warm. So they built, this ice track for you to practice hitting the bobsled, running with it, loading with it, and just kind of learning the basics of what you'd be doing as a brake woman. And so in the Olympics, the bobsled event, the women have a monobob, which is a single driver, and then there's a two-woman bobsled event. And the driver, it takes about 6 to 7 years to develop yourself as a driver, to be proficient and, learn the track, and you're going up to 92 miles an hour, and it's over a course of a mile-long track that could have 16 curves, and you're feeling the G-force that of a fighter pilot when you're in the bobsled from just the gravity and how fast you're going. So it's not for everybody. But so piloting is a whole different beast. And what I was kind of looking to try out for was a position to be in the back of the sled as a brake woman. And their main job is to get the sled from the start line to the entry of the track. So there's this stretch, kind of like a 50-meter stretch. Every track in the world is different, but it's about 50 meters. You have to be really strong and fast because you're pushing 400 pounds of metal on ice as fast as you can with the pilot. They jump in, then you push a little bit further and hop in the back. So why it's so important and why they seek such high-level athletes to be in the back of the sled is because 1/100th that you could gain on your competitor, 1/100th of a second that you could gain at the top of the track pushing well equals 3/100th at the bottom. So kind of like in NASCAR, or they're just speed sports, every 100th counts, as we know in sport. And so they want somebody that, can fight for that 100th and can push that sled just a little bit faster than maybe the Russians or the Germans. So you have to have standards in where you run and where you lift, and then you have to set a standard and they have to be able to push the bobsled well, because they see a lot of high-level athletes come through, NFL players that have the speed, have the strength, but then just can't transfer it into the sport of bobsled. So I was able to place first in my rookie camp, and I didn't know this, but they only took the top girl and the top guy from that rookie camp to basically invite to nationals, where they'd have all the other Team USA athletes compete against each other for a spot on the national team. So I don't know if I'm going too fast, if this is good.
This is amazing. You're doing fantastic. Thank you, Macy.
Okay, perfect. So, nationals was 2 weeks after my rookie camp, and so I actually arranged to stay in Lake Placid after my rookie camp because I was just determined And even though I didn't know if I was going to be invited back, I was determined to just give this my all, give it my best. I quit my full-time job as a USA swim coach in Georgia, left security, left my townhome to come and just try and like give it everything I had. And if that meant not being invited back, well, pack my car and leave. But so there was this 2-week waiting period where I wasn't sure if I was invited to nationals. But I had a good feeling because I won the rookie camp, and I actually volunteered at a thrift store, and I lived upstairs in this thrift store over these 2 weeks in Lake Placid, New York, because housing is just so scarce. And Airbnbs, it was going to cost like $7,000 a week for just like a simple Airbnb. So I volunteered at a thrift store and helped and like made ends work and was invited to nationals. And so at nationals, you're pushing the bobsled. So you've already done all your physical testing with like the combine test. And I was able to place top 5 out of all the other athletes within the combine test to prove my strength and speed. And to give you context, I had never been a sprinter. I'd never really run. And so I hired a sprint coach back in December, and I worked gruesomely with him for 7 months getting ready for this testing that I had to do. And the standards are like almost Olympic level times that you have to hit to earn 100 points on this combine. And my track coach at the time looked at me and was like, this is just going to be so far-fetched. You run a 15-second 100-meter. You are not fast at all. You are strong, all power, but like you cannot run. And I was just like, I had it in my head that it didn't matter how many like hot, humid summer days that I needed to puke on the field, that I was going to be fast, and I was going to show him that I could be fast. And he was also a 2-time Olympic sprinter for the Bahamas, and so knew exactly what he was doing, and I trusted him. And I remember this one workout, it was like running on a hill. We'd do hill sprints, and then I'd have to like do these single leg hops up the mountain and then come back down and sprint, and then go back and single leg hop for just like repeats. It felt like 16 repeats of that with like a minute rest, and your lungs feel like they're bleeding. And oh my gosh, I just like fall on the floor from exhaustion. But all that to be said, that hard work paid off, because when it came to the physical testing, I wasn't able to score 100 points on those runs, but I came in the high 80s and 90s, and so that was very, very competitive against the other people. We have a guy that's on our team right now who's an Olympic sprinter, and so there's just very high-level talent here. So to not come from running, to have the weightlifting, where running is probably a little bit more important than the weightlifting, I knew I had to just do everything I could to just be in the best position possible for the team.
Okay, we're talking to Macy Tarleton. Her parents are originally from Hoisington. She was born in Georgia, and she has made the U.S. Olympic bobsled team. And currently, you're in Canada, and you were doing some racing, getting ready for the Olympics, I take it.
So yeah, the way it works, we have a quad. So the Olympics happen every 4 years, and I am not granted a spot yet on the Olympics. I'm on the national team, which means they select from the national team to go to the Olympics. So, it's good that you're on the national team, but they don't pick basically until a few months out from the Olympics. But right now, we're helping our country basically earn spots sled-wise when it's time to pick and it's time for our country to send sleds to the Olympics. We're in a really great spot because we've maxed out the quota spots for the U.S. to send based off of our points, and there's this whole tiering system. But, so it is definitely in preparation for the Olympics, but I'm not there yet.
You're not quite there yet. Okay. I'll keep my mouth shut then. Sorry about that.
It's okay. It can be a little confusing when you're like living in the Olympic Training Center. You have like rings everywhere. Everything says Olympics. You're like, wait, what? But, yep.
So I'm guessing your days are pretty structured right now because, like I said, I know you're racing today. Pretty structured?
Yeah, so a day in the life of a bobsledder. We wake up probably like 8 a.m., have breakfast, do some mobility, see the sports med, which they're actually here on tour with us. We have a chiropractor, an ART specialist, like a doctor here, that are able to manipulate and help us feel better based off of how the day was. So we wake up, and then we go downstairs, and we start prepping the sleds. So this is the most blue-collar sport you'll ever be in. You do everything from lifting your sled, driving it to the start line, driving it back up the mountain to get it to the,
You have to do all that yourself? You don't have people do that for you? Oh, man.
No. Yeah, they're heavy. They're heavy.
I guess.
Yeah. And there's a lot of prep work that goes into the sled, like sanding the runners to make sure they're sharp and fast, and polishing things, and making sure that, like, your sled is still put together well safety-wise in case, you hit a wall and something cracks. You don't want that going down the track, so we do a lot of that. And then we have a mechanic on tour as well with us. So, so right now I made the Nationals, and I placed top 5 there, and I was named to the national team very recently after that. And the national team gets to go on the World Cup Tour, which is from now until basically March. Every 2 weeks we're flying to a different country, competing against other nations like Korea, Germany, Canada, all sorts of countries. And then there's the World Championships towards the end of our tour in Switzerland. So we're going to Germany. I'm living in Canada right now. We'll go back to the U.S. for 2 races and then take a week off for Christmas. And then it's Germany, Austria, Latvia, Switzerland.
Wow.
So
you're able to see the world here, aren't you? That's pretty cool. So, I mean, I knew your parents. I didn't think either one of them was this competitive. Where do you think you got this competitive drive?
I'm not sure, because in high school I was kind of like the bubbly artist, and I was an okay athlete. I was like average, but I really wasn't that, wizard, and never like the varsity jock that won every race or was the best in the sport. But I don't know. I think I was still competitive in other areas. I was competitive in art, and I won a lot of art competitions, and just kind of competitive and own my own little ways. And then when I got to be like 18 to 20, that's when I started realizing I had some athletic potential that I wanted to start to open up and look deeper in, and then realize that it's okay to manifest like a big goal. And I was always like, I didn't think it would be, I didn't think I was worthy enough to say that I wanted to go to the Olympics, because I was never like the best athlete growing up as a kid, but then was able to prove myself in my early 20s that I was capable of doing a lot. And so then started vocalizing that a little bit more and trying to manifest like high-level competition and nationals and world championships and stuff. And so things started to fall in place. And my dad is, I feel like, pretty competitive, and my mom is very sharp and strong, and they both are extremely supportive now. And I think they both have really great genetics, too, and my mom looks great. She works out sometimes more than I do.
Well, I was going to say, you came to Hoistington a few times, and I remember the one day at the activity center, you were kind of looking at me, and I was looking at you. I'm going, is that Macy? And stuff like that. So I know you guys, I know the family worked out quite a bit. Both your dad and your mom are pretty fitness-oriented, and obviously you took up after them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Even though they weren't necessarily high-level in sport, it's just been around me my whole life with just health and exercise. And in fact, I have this funny story. Like, my brother and I, if we wanted to watch TV, we'd have to like walk on the treadmill. I think it was like 15 or 30 minutes before we could sit on the couch. And our couch was broken. It was like this wood post sticking in the back. And so I remember walking down the stairs to see if my brother was actually on the treadmill. He was like laid over the side, kind of 1 foot on, 1 foot off, like watching on the treadmill.
Well, what I know of Luke, that kind of sounds the Luke I remember. Obviously, I think he's changed a little bit if he wants to be in law enforcement, but that's good to hear.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, my brother's a stud. He's like really strong. He has like a record with the bench and the squat in his high school, and he was also very athletic. But yeah, we just had it ingrained in us, is what I'm trying to say, in our childhood, with like exercise equipment behind the TV.
Yeah. So I guess one of my final questions, because we're just about out of time, is what, besides your traveling, what has been maybe your most exciting moment so far?
So today, I haven't even been able to call my friends yet, but the women placed really well over this past week in their competition. And today was the final day of our race for the North American Cup. And then we start our World Cup next week. So this is any nation can come to the North American Cup. It just means that it's in North America, meaning like Canada. And today we were in a really good spot to be in contention for a medal. And so my pilot, Riley Compton, was able to beat a Slovakian Olympian, who Riley is not an Olympian yet, by like 600th of a second. And we got to take home a medal, and we got 4th place. And that looks really good for the U.S. now. We've placed first, and the guys got second. So it was a highlight, like my first competition, to walk away with a bobsled medal.
That's got to be cool. So where can people follow you online, or follow not specifically you, but the National Bobsled Team? Is there a good website that you would recommend that we could keep track of what you're up to?
Yeah, so I think our races are going to be streamed on NBC, the Olympic Channel.
Okay.
We'll have to double-check that fact, but that's where it was put last year. Our USA Bobsled and Skeleton Federation has a Facebook and Instagram page that you can follow us as well. And then I have like a blog or athlete page on Facebook and Instagram. It's just Macy, M-A-C-Y, and then Lynn, L-Y-N-N, is my Facebook and Instagram name if they want to watch and follow along. And I try to post pictures every day about what's happening, so that's probably the best way.
You're one of those young people who have to post everything, right? But this is well-deserved.
No, for like all the support that I've been given. And
sure.
I had to raise a lot of money to be in this position since it's self-funded. So there's a lot of supporters that want to see what's going on. So I just try to do my due diligence and show them and carry them along this journey as well.
So not only do you have to be a great athlete, you have to raise your own money because it's bobsled?
Yeah, so our government doesn't give us money to fund this sport. There's a lot of countries that do give the athletes money. It's like a government-funded sport, where bobsled's not a government-funded sport. So there's a lot of fundraising. BMW is one of our sponsors. Under Armour is one of our sponsors. But every year is different, and you have to negotiate things. So as a personal athlete, you might be giving a little bit of money from the federation to help pay for a ticket or a little bit of a food stipend, but it adds up very quickly.
I can imagine. And where you're living, I mean, you talked about the expensiveness of Lake Placid. That's you're on quite a journey, Macy. I'm proud of you, girl.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We've been talking to Macy Tarleton, as I found out as we started this show. Her parents are from Hoisington. Macy was born in Atlanta, but I will still claim you as a Hoisington person. How about, or at least a Central Kansas person? Can I do that for a little bit?
I mean, I'm a Georgia peach all the way, but...
Oh, come on. Don't do that to me, Macy.
It's for the audience, sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Give me something. Well, Macy, we do appreciate your time. We wish you the best of luck, and we'll try to keep track of you, and maybe we can have this conversation when you actually make the Olympic team. How about that?
That'd be great, yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic.
You're talking to Macy Tarleton, and we'll be right back with more sports day after this on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM. It is the
C&D Irrigation in St. John is your locally owned and operated Zematic dealer. They also offer different brands of parts and work on all types of electric center pivots. End of year will be here before we know it. If you are looking for places to put your hard-earned dollars, let the experts at C&D Irrigation help. When you purchase a new center pivot before November 30th, you can save. The fall sales event offers rebates and subsidized financing. Ask for more details. C&D Irrigation in St. John, serving Stafford, Barton, and Pratt counties and surrounding areas of central Kansas.
Learn the skills you need to get started in a new career in as little as one semester with Barton Community College's workforce training programs. Get real-world experience in fields like carpentry, natural gas, plumbing, scales tech, and welding. You can earn money while you go to school because most classes leave you with plenty of time for a part-time job or apprenticeship. Classes begin January 10th. Sign up today and start your new career. Visit GoBarton.com to get started.
Venture Corporation is now hiring for a CDL tanker operator driver. We'll operate the same truck all week. New higher wages with flexible hours, no weekends, and time and a half over 40 hours. Blue Cross and Blue Shield health insurance, vision insurance, Section 125 cafeteria plan, 401k retirement plan with match. Venture Corporation is an equal opportunity employer. Women and minorities encouraged. Apply in person at 214 South Highway 281 in Great Bend. Online at venturecorpks.com or call Leslie at Venture Corporation. Homegrown, family owned.
Hey folks, this is Trey Bergen with Ag 360 Insurance in St. John. We are an independent agency offering several types of insurance, including crop, farm, irrigation, business, personal, and life. We would appreciate an opportunity to earn your business. Feel free to stop by our office at 103 East 4th Avenue in St. John or give us a call at 620-549-3579. You can also check us out online at ag360insurance.com.
He's a veteran of high school and college sports coverage in Kansas. Sports Day presents the Great Bend Tribune's Jim Mizunas.
And welcome into Jim Mizunas as he joins us by phone today. How's it going this afternoon, Jim?
Going good. We're getting a little bit of the first snowflakes of the year, so that makes it fun.
Yeah, we've had some snow today. That is correct. Okay, so we're going to talk, first of all, we're going to talk about the young lady from Nickerson who suffered that tragic accident, Ava Jones, and she's going to the University of Iowa, and the University of Iowa is still going to honor her scholarship, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, it's really quite great on Iowa's part to honor a scholarship where it's really uncertain how many years it may be before Ava even plays. It's certainly going to be at least a couple of years because she still needs surgery on both of her knees. She, honestly, I don't honestly see how she's even walking. She's got so many ligaments that are still damaged that need repair. Credit to her. It just shows her toughness that even at this early stage, she's made some incredible progress from not being even able to talk or walk to where she is today. So she's already made incredible progress in just a couple months, and I certainly would bet on her that someday, and it'll be a historic game that certainly a lot of people will be following when she steps on the court at the University of Iowa for a basketball game. It'll certainly be a capacity crowd that night.
Well, somebody with that much athletic ability, they're made a little bit different than we are, so I would not doubt you, and she probably will make it back on the court at some point. I agree.
Yeah, because it was a tragic accident that claimed the life of her father, and then her mom was serious battle to overcome her injuries and her ailments, and fortunately her younger brother, Creek Jones, was able to escape any injuries, and so we're happy about that the youngster in 5th grade is good to go now. So yeah, it's good to see. But having your father pass away in an accident is beyond comprehension that no one can even understand. I mean, you just, unless you've had that happen in your own family, you just can't even appreciate how tough that is to overcome that. But knowing Ava, and she takes that to heart and says, I'm going to do everything to the best of my ability, because that's what my father would want me to do, is give it all I got. That's really all you can ask for in life.
Jim, I'm sorry, but we do have to move along pretty quickly today. The Hoisington High School Cardinals, their football season came to an end at the hands of the #1 team in the state, southeast of Saline, on Friday night. What did you think of that ball game?
Yeah, Hoisington really had a nice game plan. I mean, they're not going to steer away from what they do. They're going to run the ball. But they hit a lot of big pass plays. Tony Moore, he ended up being first-team defensive back, second-team quarterback, had a fantastic game. Threw for over 100 yards, was 8 for 11. And so he hit a lot of big plays. Came down to a goal-line situation. Hoisington pushed that across. It's a 14-14 game. And then the game got away from them at that point because Southeast goes 97 yards in the next drive. But, yeah, great credit to Coach Zach Baird and his football team. They've won 9 consecutive first-round games at Hoisington, which is commendable. And this year they won 2 games. So, yeah, great program there. They've got their top 5 players back for next year: Caden Hoffman, Tony Moore, Taryn Kraft, Ian Smith, and place kicker freshman Taylor Morales. So they've got a tremendous building block for next year. They're gonna have a really, really good, strong program, like they do every year. So that's fantastic to see. And congratulations on Coach Baird and his season.
And talking with Jim Osunas from the Great Bend Tribune. And finally, Jim, what is K-State going to do? Adrian Martinez goes out with an injury. I have not heard any updates on how he's doing. But Will Howard comes in, and once again, Will Howard looks like a starting quarterback on a major college football team.
What's the old story about Wally Pipp? I think Will Howard, he's the guy. And I've always said that it doesn't matter what year you are or where you are. If somebody's better than you, guess what? They get the job. So, yeah, I think Will Howard's the guy the rest of the year. I mean, K-State is not going to sacrifice a chance to go to the Big 12 championship game to play their second-best quarterback. So I think Will Howard's he's going to be the guy. I really do believe that. Because they played 2 games basically without Martinez. The score was 48-0 and 31-3. So, there's certain players where everybody around him plays better, and that's what Will Howard has, that magic formula, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's pretty much into black and white. Jim, I do appreciate your time today. We're a little bit short on time because of our conversation with Macy Tarleton. We thank you for your time, and we'll talk to you next week.
Well, you're welcome, and that was a tremendous interview with Macy. I really appreciated hearing that.
Well, thank you, sir. She is a cousin. She's my daughter's cousin. We're no longer related, I guess, but she is my daughter's cousin, and it was fun to talk to Macy. You have a safe trip back, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, that is Jim Osunas from the Great Bend Tribune, and we'll be right back with Sports Day as we have a talk with Dustin Armbruster about Hayes High as they get ready to play they play Maize on Friday night.
From the Mayo Money Management Studios, 1590 KVGB Great Bend and 95.5 FM K238CK Hoisington.
Get the latest 5G devices at Nextech Wireless. Now you can get the iPhone 14 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy S22 Plus on us, or up to $999 off any other device. And that's not all. You can also get half off a new Apple Watch when you bring your number to us. Nextech Wireless. We are Kansas.
Hey everyone, this is Cole Wright, voice of the Barton Cougars. Attending sporting events for Barton Community College is great, but did you know you can support the athletic teams even further by getting involved with the Cougar Booster Club? The Boosters help with fundraising for equipment and facility upgrades to give Barton athletes every opportunity to keep succeeding at the regional and national levels. Join the Cougar Booster Club as an individual or business. Call 620-792-9377. Become a booster today. Go Cougars.
200 down 3. This is Dan. Dan uses Navy Federal Credit Union to save and invest. Luckily for him, Navy Federal takes the legwork out of managing his money, which gives Dan time to work on other things, like his new auctioneering hobby. If you want to be like Dan, learn about our savings and investment options at NavyFederal.org/save and invest. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Bidder number 63. Savings products insured by NCUA. Investment options are available through Navy Federal Investment Services and are not insured by NCUA.
Tuesday on ESPN Radio. 4th-ranked Kentucky faces Michigan State, followed by 7th-ranked Duke and number 5 Kansas.
5 seconds to go for 3. Yeah!
Coverage at 5:30 Tuesday right here on KBGB.
It's Sports Day on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM. Presented by Barton Community College and the Cougar Athletic Department.
And welcome back to Sports Day on this snowy Monday. Now, as we get ready to talk with Dustin Armbruster. He is the voice of the Hayes High Indians, the radio voice of the Hayes High Indians. And Dustin, welcome aboard. Thank you, sir, for joining us today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's nice to be inside, so anything that keeps me indoors like this does, I'm down for it.
I don't blame you. Okay, so honestly, when the season started with Hayes losing a couple of great players, did anybody expect what Hayes has done so far?
Well, I don't know about being in the state semifinals if anybody expected that. I was in the boat. I said it at the beginning of the year. I thought Hayes High through 8 games realistically could be 5-3 or 6-2. So I knew there was a chance that they could be really good. Being around the program, knowing the kids, I knew the caliber of players that didn't play last year was going to be pretty high going into this year. Now, did I predict a state semifinal appearance? No. I don't know that anybody did that. But, I think there was a chance. I knew there was a chance that this team would be really good, and they've exceeded everybody's expectations.
And why have they exceeded everybody's expectations? What's been the catalyst?
I think a lot of it is the fact that these kids were playing with a chip on their shoulder from day number one, because they heard everything that you just said here a minute ago. That's what they heard from everybody was, well, you're not going to be as good because you lost these X players, and you're not going to be as good because nobody has experience on the varsity level, and boy, what are you going to do without this guy? And so they came in with a chip on their shoulder from day number one. But these are also a group of kids and seniors that they've played that way from the time that they were in 3rd and 4th grade. There's some kids that they don't have some of the backgrounds that you'd expect out of maybe some Hayes High kids, and they've had some tough lives growing up, and so sports has been their outlet, and they pour everything into it because it is what it allows them to escape on a Friday night for a little bit, and they can truly treat it as a game, and it's not real life for them when they're playing football. It is a game, and it's an escape for them, and so they really put a lot into it, and they've played with that chip on their shoulder, and they're probably more so than any other group that I've ever been around. They play as a team. This group could care less about statistics and who has the most tackles and who has the most yards. They could care less. They look at the end of the night and want to know if they won the football game or not, and that is goal number one. And the only goal is to win on Friday night.
And winning they have been doing. I checked some of the stats this morning, and I just realized their only loss was to Manhattan early on. Since then, they've had double-digit wins since beating Garden City in Week 4. So they've been basically dominating teams since Week 4.
Yeah, they really have been. And even in that game against Garden City, that was a double-digit win. Garden City scored a touchdown in the final, literally the final play of the game. Otherwise, that would have been a 2-score game as well. And they've just come out, and from drive number one, they have the lead. This team has scored on the first drive of every game since Week 1. And in Week 1 against Junction City, they got it to the 4-yard line and turned it over on downs. And so this team plays with the lead a majority of the games that they're in, except for the Manhattan game, and they had the lead for a while in that Manhattan game too. And so they come out with the same thought process regardless of who's across from them. They are going out to dominate the game, and they don't care who the opponent is. And most of the time, these guys haven't played the second half of games really since the Garden City game until the game against part of Wichita West. They didn't play the second half because they were ahead by so much by halftime.
Talking with Dustin Armbruster, he is the radio voice of Hayes High School. As they get ready, they defeated Salina Central on Friday night. I know it was a pretty close game at halftime, but it looked like the second half was pretty much all Hayes High.
Yeah, it really was. Hayes High scored 28 points in the third quarter. One of those, a pick six by Evan Lynn, and it was a close game in the first half. Salina Central is a good team. Unfortunately, they lost their running back, the McMillan kid, about 4 plays in. And so they really, lost a dynamic player in that. And it took Hayes High a little bit to adjust to the way that Salina Central then adjusted their game plan, because Hayes High hadn't expected that to be the way that it worked. And so it took the Indians a little bit to adjust defensively to it. But, they gave up just the 6 points there in the first half, or it was 14-0, I guess, 6 points early in the third quarter. But they really, even though it's 14-0, you had a pretty good feeling of how that game was going to turn out against Salina Central. And getting Malik Baugh back helped. He was injured a couple of weeks ago, 21 carries, 221 yards. And when you got Malik in the backfield, you are dangerous to score at any point of the field.
As you mentioned, they play in the state semifinals Friday night, and they take on an undefeated Mays team. And since I've been back in the state, all I've heard about is Avery Johnson. What are your thoughts on Avery Johnson and Mays?
He's the real deal. This is a rematch of the state quarterfinals from a year ago. Hayes High lost down at Mays in a great game. And so these kids know who Avery is, obviously, but they've played against Avery one time. So they've got not an advantage in over Mays, but they've got the advantage of the fact that They've seen the speed. They understand the speed. They understand the arm that he's able to play with. And so they have a better understanding than maybe what some teams do when they go up against Avery Johnson and Mays for the first time. He's the real deal, man. Hayes High has played him in baseball last year as well. Probably the quickest kid that I've ever seen at the high school level from home plate to first base. That team is real, and Hayes isn't overlooking a single aspect of this contest on Friday night.
And what's going to take to beat Mays?
Well, the Hayes High defense is going to have to do something that really only Hutchinson has done, and that's figure out a way to hold Avery Johnson and that offense from scoring 40, 50, 60 points because they get rolling and it's hard to stop them. The Hayes High defense has been as good a defense as the Indians maybe have ever had. They haven't faced anybody like Avery Johnson. So they're going to have to figure out a way to get Avery off the field and then continue to score at the rate that Hayes High has scored this year. And so, there's a chance that I think if this game gets into a shootout, Hayes High can be there because the Indians can score so quickly. Malik Boss had a huge year. Tyrese Groen is having a great year as an all-league wide receiver, now a quarterback. The Indians can throw a little bit better this year than last year, so maybe they can take advantage of a few things there. But I think it really comes down to the Hayes High defense. Can they figure out a way to get Avery Johnson off the field? When you do, on those rare occasions, get him into third and even third and long, can you figure out a way to get him off the field so he can't score points?
Well, Dustin, I appreciate all your time this afternoon, and good luck on Friday. And you guys are representing the West now. You know that, right?
Yeah, representing the West, representing the Western Athletic Conference. I think it's always good when WAC schools make a deep run into the playoffs because it shows the strength of our conference a little bit. So, these kids take that badge of pride with them into this game.
Good luck on Friday night, and have a good call, Dustin. Thanks for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. That's Dustin Armbruster. He is the radio voice of Hayes High School as Hayes High gets ready to take on Mays in a state semifinal game on Friday. You're listening to Sports Day. We'll be right back.
Therapy in Great Bend and progressive therapy in Larned and Hayes.
I had a young gal come in the other day who has been having chronic back pain. Did a session just helping her to understand her pain, not understanding her back, but teaching her how her nervous system works. And just that knowledge just calmed her down so much. She came back in this morning, huge smile on her face, and she was so excited to learn more. It was a blast.
Call Advanced or Progressive Therapy and Sports Medicine to explore your treatment options and get your life back.
Learn the skills you need to get started in a new career in as little as one semester with Barton Community College's workforce training programs. Get real-world experience in fields like carpentry, natural gas, plumbing, scales tech, and welding. You can earn money while you go to school because most classes leave you with plenty of time for a part-time job or apprenticeship. Classes begin January 10th. Sign up today and start your new career. Visit GoBarton.com to get started.
And welcome back to Sports Day as we're just about out of time on this Monday. Steve Webster will be back or should be back tomorrow to have Sports Day and also the morning show with Steve Webster. Hopefully we'll be back and checking some of those Friday sectional scores if you missed them early on, as we have just about enough time to go over some of the scores. First of all, I'll let you know that Sports Day is presented by Barton Community College and Barton Community College Athletics. Train for a new career at Barton Community College in areas like carpentry, network security, or pharmacy tech. Learn more at GoBarton.com. And also a reminder that the Barton County women's soccer team, the Barton Community College women's soccer team, was winners today at the national tournament as they defeated the team they were playing at 3-0. So the Barton women they're in pool play right now, so a good start for the Barton women down in Georgia. As we mentioned in Class 2A from Friday night, Southeast of Saline defeated Hoisington by a score of 44-21. In 8-man Division 1, it was Little River over Chase County by a score of 48-40. Also in Division 2 of 8-man, Thunder Ridge defeated Victoria 62-46. Dighton was a 38-0 win over Wallace County. And as we talked to Dustin Armbruster, Class 5A Hayes was a 49-12 winner over Salina Central. Other Class 5A scores: Mill Valley 49, Pittsburgh 0. Blue Valley Southwest 69 to Soto 35, and Mays defeated Hutchinson 21-14, setting up the Hayes-Mays game on Friday night. Special thanks to our guest today, Jim Usinas calling in from wherever he was at. Also, Dustin Arbor for joining us. And for Macy Tarleton, she's calling from Canada as she is a member of the U.S. National Olympic bobsled team. That's it for today. Have a great day, everybody.